Coy Harry is the civilian shooting instructor for CSAT, or Combat Shooting and Tactics. Originally a student, Coy enrolled in the course when the school he worked at wanted to start a Guardian program following the events at Columbine. Now Coy guides teachers through intensive training in active shooter situations. I hope you will find this interview informative as we go to CSAT, and me, Coy Harry. I'm sitting here with Coy Harry. He's a gun instructor down here in Nacogdoches, and sounds like he's probably got an interesting life. He's also, from what I understand, in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame, or at least that's what his wife told me. And so we'll see. We'll see. Let him introduce himself real quick.
Hi, I'm Coy Harry. I'm the lead instructor for the civilian side here at Combat Shooting and Tactics, Paul Howell's company. I also am the current head of the system for Xinchuan Martial Science. That was founded by Joe Lansdale back in 1995. Also a school teacher full-time, teach biology, chemistry, and physics at a small rural East Texas school, and I started and run the Guardian program, which are armed members of staff on campus.
Yeah. So I kind of like to go back to the very beginning of things. So what started first, the shooting or the martial arts with you?
Really about the same time. When I was a kid, shooting was a big deal. I grew up in Central Texas. And so I'm a big bird hunter. I'm living in East Texas, deer hunting country, and I'm not a big deer hunter, deer ambusher. But started shooting pistols when I was about 7, shotguns, rifles, and then also started martial arts about 7 or 8 in Mudokwan in Temple, Texas. So I've been doing both. Now, as far as the tactical shooting, professionally, here at CSAT, I started in 2016.
Okay, so you mentioned, was it Xinchuan?
Xinchuan.
Xinchuan. Let my accent get in the way here.
Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly is that? Can you explain that?
It's a self-defense system that basically what Joe did is took a lot of the concepts and principles of multiple martial arts that he'd trained in over the years, and throughout all the what we call dojo techniques, all the stuff that requires cooperation from your partner, and kind of kept the whoop-ass stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a self-defense system. We focus primarily on striking, but we also do quite a bit of locking, throwing, balance disruptions, things like that. It's fun.
Yeah. So how did you get into that? Just Mom sign you up for a class, or?
Well, with that particular system, and that instructor, Joe, I'd gotten out of the Army. I was an Army officer for a while, and I got hit in the reduction in force after the first Gulf War. So I didn't have a choice as an officer. They're like, "Yeah, get out." So I had to decide what am I going to do, So anyway, I was kind of in a funk. I had a hole in my soul, basically, because that's all I'd ever wanted to be was an Army officer. And I'd married my wife, Tanya, and she was still in college. She was taking Taekwondo for a PE credit, and she saw a guy doing some stuff that wasn't Taekwondo, and she's like, I think my husband might like that. So she started talking to him, and so I think that was like a Tuesday, and he said something about a class on Thursday, so I showed up there, and the first time I met Joe, I looked in his eyes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm home, because he's seen the elephant, and so the class at the time, it was called Matsukaze Budo, and so we did, it was a 2-hour class, a couple of nights a week, and we did Kempo for an hour, and we did Aikido for an hour. We had 2 different instructors. And they kind of parted ways, and I followed Joe and, helped him establish the Xinchuan martial science. It's not an ancient Chinese art or anything.
Yeah.
The Chinese means spirit fist or spirit boxing,
Yeah.
Some people have, it
Just
says God boxing. No, that's not what Whoops, I just kicked that.
Nah, you're fine. I'll fix it in post.
So anyway, Tanya got me into it, which was really a blessing because, like I said, I had a hole in my soul, and that what I was missing was the brotherhood. That's who I am. I need people like that around me. That's where I function best.
Yeah.
And
so just wondering, because you mentioned all the thing about like ROTC and stuff, is that kind of how you found out that about yourself, or? As long as I can remember, I'd been militaristically minded. I'd always wanted to be a soldier from the time that I was little. I mean, I think my dad used to tell a story that when I first learned to talk, I don't know, I was however old that is, and it was right around Christmas time. I said, "What do you want?" "I want a rifle." And this was back in the late 60s, early 70s. And, toy guns were kind of taboo. So he said, they had to go all over the place to try and find one for me. So it's just been who I am, and I recognized it, and I've tried to follow paths that suit my nature. Yeah.
I've been very, very fortunate.
So once I can imagine how crushing that would be once they kick you out of there. So
yeah,
it
was.
Found that.
Yeah.
So then, was it just an obsession from then on, or?
I would say more of a lifestyle. A lot of people do things for hobbies. Nothing. The martial arts, the combat, the tactical shooting training. It's not a hobby for me. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to use the word obsession, I guess you could use that. That would. But I prefer the term lifestyle just because, I don't do it to the exclusion of all else.
Yeah.
I still spend time with the family, and, when the kids were born, every kid had to give up one night a week of martial arts. So I was doing 4 nights a week. And then once both were born, I only got to do 2. So, but that's compromise. But if I was obsessed, I don't think I would,
Yeah.
So
I was just wondering, I had interviewed a power lifter, and he owns a place in Tyler called Meal Prep Guy, and that was kind of his thing. Was he was doing powerlifting, was ranked like number 3 or something in America or the world or whatever. Then pulled or snapped something in his back, muscular wise, and couldn't use his left arm. And so he said it was just like depression for 2 years after that. But then he also kind of put that obsession into his business, and now he's expanding like no one would believe.
Yeah, no, I've always been intense, passionate person, and so I think I follow my passions. My passions are all linked to some form of combat, whether it's hand combat, and in the Army I was a tanker, so go all the way up to that. So it's all the same thing once you understand the concepts that drive it all. So yeah, I mean, it's who I am.
Yeah. So about the Hall of Fame, how did that come about?
Yeah, that's it's not quite what it sounds like. Basically, I was recognized in 1998 as a master instructor in the International Martial Arts Hall of Fame. And then in 99, I was inducted as a member, as a master instructor. So it's not like, you're such a, whatever.
There's not like a shrine to you where Buddhist monks come in.
No, nothing like that. I don't mention it a whole lot, primarily because that particular outfit, they basically became, after the 2000s, they became kind of a pay to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now I got in when I actually had to go and demonstrate my technique and my ability and things like that. But now, so I don't like to associate with it that much anymore because I don't want people to think, oh, he just bought that. Well, maybe. I don't know. But I had to do a lot of stuff to,
Yeah.
And so I had to get voted in by the council or whatever. But,
Yeah.
It's not that it's not something I
Brag about. Yeah. So when did the tactical training and stuff start?
It really started as my school decided to institute a guardian program. Mm-hmm. So after Sandy Hook, they wanted to implement armed people on campus. And because of my background, they asked me if I would be the program leader. And I said, sure, but I got 2 conditions. Number 1, I get to pick the team. And number 2, we train at CSAT because we got a world-class tactical trainer in our backyard, and it would be obscene not to use it. So I got one condition, and that was training at CSAT. I didn't get to pick my first team. That's a whole other story. But so 2015, early 2016, I started. We did a guardian course out here. My school did, and like I said, I've been shooting since I was 7. I thought I was pretty good, and I was better than average. I mean, I shot expert with every weapon I was able to touch in the Army. So yeah, I thought, yeah. But then I came out here, and I saw the real professionals, and I said, oh, I got to have me some of that. And so I trained up. The school was going to pay for me to become certified as a CSAT instructor so that I can conduct the training for our guardians. Their condition was I had to pass the course, because if I didn't pass the course, then I had to pay for it. It's like $1,200.
Yeah.
I'm the school teacher. I don't make that much money. My wife, bless her heart, she's a social worker.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, no pressure. So I started training, and then spring of 2017, I passed the instructor course. And on the final day of the instructor course, Paul asked me if I wanted a job. And are you talking to me? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
So what was the difference between this and even your military training?
This is a lot more technical. Basically, our whole concept are fundamentals on demand. So it's not flashy. It's not exciting. In the military, basically what you do is, they teach people in large groups. So there's no specialty. You don't get a lot of time, unless you go on your own with your own personal weapon and train. You get whatever training they give you. And it's just the very basics. Now, unless you make it into special operations like Paul was, you don't get a lot of specialized training.
Yeah.
Basically, all the shooting and stuff that I did was from my childhood. My grandfather, not my real grandfather, but he basically adopted me. He was a World War II vet, so he taught me how to shoot shotguns, pistols, rifles. And then he'd actually kill people, so he knew what it was like. And this is how well you have to shoot. And a lot of people, they just don't know what they don't know. There's a lot to it. So we have flat range standards that we have to pass. We have to shoot consistently on demand. They're challenging. But then what's different is you've got to take those flat range standards and you have to apply them to tactical scenarios. So you have to apply them to exiting a vehicle, maneuvering around a vehicle, fire maneuver up to a structure, clearing a structure. You have to be able to discriminate targets when you enter a structure. So you can't just go in, with your gun up too high where you got to be able to see everything. So there's a lot of things involved that people don't realize. And, the nice thing about working for Paul is he had 10 years in special operations, the top tier in the world. And so every time I'm around him, I'm learning more and more and more and more, on the big picture, combat is combat, but, it's the small stuff. Can you perform daytime, nighttime, gloves on, gloves off, with armor, without armor, tired, sweaty, bloody,
Yeah.
So that's where it's different than, Uncle Bob going out in the back of the pasture and shooting cans off the fence,
Yeah. So the Guardian program, are teachers going through y'all's full experience, or do y'all have something specifically for them? Or
So what we have, when I first started, it was a 5-day course. We did it in August, and it was brutal. I mean, it was just absolutely brutal. But it was an experience. So what we've done now, our Guardian program, we encourage schools to do a 2-day TAC pistol course where they get familiar with their weapon system, with their pistol. They are taught the CSAT system, the pistol system, how we shoot pistols. And then they're introduced to the Guardian standards. They have 7 standards, flat range standards they have to pass in order for us to go, yeah, you're safe enough and competent enough to carry a firearm around children in a school. Then they come to a 3-day Guardian 1 course. And in that Guardian 1 course, we teach them the basics of CQB, close quarters battle, room clearing. So at the end of that course, they have to pass 2 things. They have to pass the flat range standards, and they have to pass tactical standards, which is an outside contact, a hallway contact, room contact, T intersection, and they have to do a tourniquet. So we do a little bit of medical on that. So that's our very basic. That's what we send everybody. We encourage everyone to go through. Now, we've had some schools that wanted a shortcut. They're like, oh, we can shoot, and we're going to skip the TAC pistol, and then they come and they have a lot of trouble passing the standards. After that, we have a Guardian 2 course, which is basically the same tactical scenarios, but we use Bob dummies, those guys over there, that in real situation in the school, you're going to have people in front of the targets, behind the targets, around the targets, in your way. So you learn to move around people with a live weapon. So all of our CQB is live fire. And then we have a Guardian 3 course, which is a TAC pistol med course. And so that's conducted by Dr. Klingenberg and Mark, who you met earlier. They do that. They've got bleeder dummies. So they teach you how to pack wounds. They teach you how to apply tourniquets, the 2 primary tourniquets, soft T's, cats. And then at the end of the course, you have to do tactical scenarios. So there's going to be a dummy laying there. You've got to come in, clear room. They'll come and start pumping the blood out of the dummy. So you got to get down there, assess what's wrong, stop the bleeding, either pack it, tourniquet, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
So we have a progression, but the primary thing is the 2-day TAC pistol and 3-day Guardian 1.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, because you said that your school that you work for was one of the first ones to enact the program. So how many are there now across the state? Do you know?
Across the state, I don't know. We were the first, one of the first in Nacogdoches County, not in the state. There's been some in the state that have been doing it for a while, particularly out in West Texas. But as far as across the state, it's becoming more and more. Most of the schools in Nacogdoches County right now do have Guardian programs that have trained here at CSAT. And I've got, I'm going to be working with some next month from McLennan County. And so we're trying to spread out, get the word out. There's a school out in Midland, and they come and train with us every year in the summer. So
yeah. So the standards for that, are they across the board, or is it y'all have y'all's own standards? If they trained with somebody else, they'd have their standards? Or
yeah. So the deal about the Guardian program is there's 3 ways to legally carry a gun in a school in Texas. You can be a licensed law enforcement officer and work either as a school resource officer, SRO, an ISD PD. A lot of them have their own police departments. So you have that LE route, and then you've got a school marshal program, which the state puts on. And you're in a weird gray area between being an actual law enforcement officer and just plain civilian. And then you have the Guardian program, and that's run, the way it's written in Texas law is individual districts have the right to grant anyone they the school board feels appropriate to carry a firearm on campus. And so that's where we chose to do that. There's reasons why we didn't do the Marshall program. I mean, if you want me to get into all that, I can. But
I mean, yeah, this is long form, so I'm
Okay.
just trying to inform people whatever I can here.
at the time, the Marshall program, the DPS pushed the training on. They treat it like a, at least in the people that I've heard that have gone through it, they like to yell at people, scream at people. Now part of that is stress inoculation, but they're doing it at inappropriate times. While new shooters are on a range with live ammo, that's not the place to do that. It's not very professional. But what really made me not choose it is, as a school marshal, you could not carry a firearm on your person. It had to be locked in a safe if you came into contact with children at any point in the day. Well, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? The other deal is you could only shoot frangible ammunition. So frangible ammo, for those that don't know, is basically a metal powder that's compacted. And what it's designed to do is powder when it hits something hard, like bricks or things like that. And it's not great for stopping people. And if you shoot a bunch of it, it wears your barrel out, so your accuracy decreases. So I was like, no, we need to go with the Guardian program, because each individual district is able to set their own standards, and their own rules for Guardian programs. So what I tried to do, I wrote a handbook, a Guardian Program Leader Handbook, and working, with Paul these years, we've tried to create a template for a really good, strong Guardian program. And if schools want to do it and they want to do it right, then we're happy to help them out. There's a lot of schools that just have a principal or a superintendent walking around. Oh, I got my concealed handgun. Well, that ain't, you're going to be more of a problem than you are a help. So,
So, just wondering, with the Marshall program, was that something before the Guardian program sort of came along? I was just trying to figure out.
I'm pretty sure the Guardian program has been in Texas law for a long time. And like I said, some of those schools out in West Texas, they've been doing it for a while. Close to 20 years. The school marshal program is relatively new. I believe it started right around the Sandy Hook incident.
I was just trying to figure out why there'd be such a, what would you call?
Disparity between the two?
Disparity. That's
because it's a state program. So anything the state puts their grubby paws in, it's going to be jacked up. So, yeah.
So how did the Guardian program come about then? Is that federal or?
No, it's state. But I don't know the actual history behind it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's been in the law for a long, long time, because a lot of schools have been doing it. Or not a lot. Several schools have been doing it for 20 plus years. I'm not sure when it was written.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the stress inoculation stuff. Is that something y'all practice, or is it more just like trying to get that muscle memory down?
What we try to do is we try to tier our instruction. So our philosophy is crawl, walk, run. So we start, very simple, and then we just add to it. Part of the stress inoculation that we offer in our course is we do a mindset. We talk about mindset, what it takes. Carrying a gun all day is not a pleasant experience, and it shouldn't be. Every morning I put this thing on and I go to school, and, as I'm putting the gun on, I'm like, take a breath. Okay. I've got a dangerous weapon on my hip. I'm responsible for every round that comes out of it. All this stuff is going through my head, so I don't take it for granted. When you start taking it for granted, that's when you get in trouble. So mindset is a very important thing. And stress inoculation, the way we inoculate stress is, first, our flat range standards have time. So you have to make certain shots in a certain time limit. And so you have a little timer, a little beeper, and that beep induces stress. And so, people learn to deal with that. Then we typically do just our regular CSAT standard target. I can show it to you later. And then what we'll do after that is we start putting discrimination targets in there. So our discrimination targets are pictures of people with their hands in different positions, and we put props on there. And some of the props are guns, a Coke can, coffee cup, whatever.
Yeah.
So as a person is coming into a room or they're using threshold assessment if they're a single person, then they have to be able to learn to take a step and see a little bit, because you can only move as fast as you can discriminate.
Yeah.
And then, so part of the Trail of Tears I had to take to be an instructor was shoot house instructor course. And what we learned in that course is how to run people safely through a live fire shoot house. But we also learn how to set up the shoot house. And I've been watching Paul for 6 years now and how he sets things up, and he understands people's psychology. So, we'll put a shoot target in one room, and then the next room, it'll have a guy with a gun, but then there'll be a badge down there. So our discrimination process is you have to look at the whole person, hands, waistline, immediate area, and demeanor. So if you're not doing that, you won't pick up the badge, you'll pick up the gun and you'll shoot.
Yeah.
And so that's some stress inoculation. We also show them videos of people dying. There's people don't die like they do in the movies.
Yeah.
So, we talk about that. We talk about how to prep your mind to be ready to take a human life. And you gotta make peace ahead of time, and being a school teacher and, a guardian, I may have to kill a kid that I've taught for 4 years. Mm. You know what I mean? So, it may be one I wanted to, and I'm just kidding. But it may not be the one that everyone else wants me to, but
yeah.
But these are things, the other part of it I talk about, and in small schools, a lot of teachers, their kids are there. And so, you've got to be able to see your kid lying there bleeding in the hallway and not stop.
Yeah. That's
not easy. You have to make peace with that. You got to go and solve the problem so other kids are safe. And so these are things, that's what I talk about. People, they don't know what they don't know. There's a lot to it.
Yeah. So if you want to, I know it's not really your expertise here, but why don't you mention like some of the other kind of tactical training y'all do and stuff here? You showed me the barracks and everything.
Yeah. Well, basically what we have two divisions. We have the civilian training side. That's I'm the lead instructor on that. And then we have our law enforcement training side. And my buddy Nick is in charge of that. And so they do basic SWAT courses, advanced SWAT courses. Let's see what else. They got urban marksman, basically a police sniper course, counter ambush courses, things like that.
Yeah.
So, we just had, we had a group of Air Force TAC-Ps come through. We also offer an instructor course. And so we had a group of Air Force guys come in a couple months ago, and they went through. So we have, we teach civilians, military, law enforcement.
Just a little bit of everything.
We cover it all.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. You don't think about, these small towns and stuff, what all's in them.
Yeah. No, I count myself extremely fortunate. Number one, to have found Joe Lansdale as a martial arts instructor. The guy's phenomenal. And then to be able to work for Paul Howe, my God, American hero. This man is, he's who I want to be when I grow up.
We talked off camera about it. If you want to explain who he was and everything.
Yeah, for those that don't know who Paul Howe is, Paul is an Army veteran, 20 years in the Army, 10 years spent in Special Op Tier 1 organization. He was his team was in the Battle of the Black Sea, the Black Hawk Down deal. He didn't show up in a character in the movie, but if you've read the book, Paul is a major character in the book. The author, contacted Paul and did a lot of interviews with him, and so he is an incredible human being. He's somebody special.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have to interview him one of these days if you think I could get him.
Yeah, well, I can ask.
Okay, man. Thanks for sitting down and explaining it. I know it's Guardian program's a thing we hear a lot on the news and stuff, but you don't really get an idea of what all they actually go through. And there's a lot of people, think we're just throwing guns at teachers. And
the big thing that I want is there's a lot of people out there that are giving what they call guardian training, and it's not good. So what I encourage people to do, if you're a school administrator, you're a school board member, you want to institute a guardian program, vet your trainer.
Yeah.
You want somebody that has...
Don't get the Walmart one.
Yeah, don't get the Walmart one. Don't get the cop to train you that's, your brother-in-law or whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing against them, but, your average law enforcement officer is not that good.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds pretty intense what y'all go through. But
yeah, we take it very, very seriously.
Yeah.
We consider our kids to be this nation's most precious commodity, and they're the least protected. Mm-hmm. And that needs to change.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this brings some attention to it and stuff. I don't have many subscribers or anything, but thanks for.
It only takes one.
Yeah. Save one person. Reach out to one person, right?
That's it.
So thanks for sitting down with me, man.
You're more than welcome.
Great. Oh, hi. You actually made it to the end. Not many people do that. I guess you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Share it with people if you want to. And just tune in next time because I'm always interviewing different people. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.